Hi, everybody. This is Belinda with Design for Energy. And I thought today I would share something on a little different topic that you would think probably doesn't have to do with Feng Shui. And that's on healing the loss of a pet. I wrote a book. It's called Feng Shui for Healing the Loss of a Pet. It's on Amazon. I wrote it several years ago when I lost my precious Yorkie, Bella Luna. She was with me every day as a puppy until she died, which was not even a year old. And she was just precious to me. And when she passed away, it devastated me. I had had some losses in my life with grandparents and uncles and aunts, but it was nothing like this. The love of a pet is truly truly amazing. So I wanted to offer some tips today for those of you who know someone or yourself may be going through a grief process right now because you've lost your pet, or you may have heard some bad news that your pet is going to not be around for very much longer due to a health issue, that these tips might be helpful to you. I know that when I lost my pet, I just was hungry for something to read or somebody to talk to help me get through those first few weeks where I was in such pain. I was numb. It was a feeling I had never experienced before. And so those of you who've lost a pet know what I'm talking about. And so I couldn't find anything. And so I just journaled just all day long for days. And that helped me get through a lot of my emotions, a lot of my grief. And I highly recommend that because for the first couple of days, I couldn't even call my family and let them know. I was too upset. I felt that if I got on the phone with anyone, I would just bawl. I would just not be able to get any words out. I needed those couple of days to, get myself a little bit further beyond in terms of the acceptance and the process. And so journaling helped me. And that is what led to my little book that's on Amazon, Feng Shui for Healing the Loss of a Pet. And it was helpful to me to be a Feng Shui practitioner, to have principles that I could use to help me through the process. Because in Feng Shui, it's all about energy, and there's a lot of energy in emotions. And we don't want those emotions to be stored in our body. They create illnesses. And so we definitely want to move through those emotions at our own pace, in our own way. So sometimes we need help. Sometimes we need to talk to people. Sometimes we need processes. And so I'm a person who reaches out wherever I can, for those kinds of things. And at the time, I didn't, like I said, didn't want to be around anyone. I had a dear friend who I told, and she came over, and she's a massage therapist, and she very gentle, very nurturing person. And she brought me a card and a flower, and she did some energy work on me. I laid on the floor in my living room. And I felt safe around her. She was not judgmental. She was, very neutral. And that was the best person for me at the time. Anybody else, I would have had a hard time letting go and of my emotions at the raw state that I was in. So choose that right person or situation for yourself. Don't just take anybody who decides they want to come over and help you as that you have to do that. It's your time. It's your way of healing. And it's important that you do it your way. So one of the tips that I have for you is, be sure you're around people that support you, that love you, that can somewhat understand what you're going through. You don't want to hear from people, one of the things I tell people when they're dealing with people who have lost someone, and you're the outside party, the friend or the parent or the boyfriend or the girlfriend, you don't really want to tell the grieving person, it's okay, you'll get over it, or get over it, or give them advice on how to get over it. The best advice you can be for a person who's grieving is to be a listener. One of my Zen master teachers has a beautiful saying in his book on grief, that the best statement you can say to anyone when they're going through a grief process is, I'm here for you. And basically, that's what you want them to know. And they'll reach out to you when they're ready. Is there anything I can get for you? I'm here for you. Even if they ask you, why do you think this happened? Or what do you think I should do? What about this? What about that? You really want to take it back to, them, allowing them to voice their thoughts, their emotions, because that helps it move through their body. We don't want to store emotions in our body. That creates illnesses. And in Feng Shui, it's all about energy. And there's a lot of energy in thoughts and in emotions. So we don't want those stored in our body. We want them to move through, flow through, so that we can heal. So if in the first couple of days you have to be by yourself and you have to have the ugly cry, you have to scream in the backyard, whatever, if it's something like that, then give yourself that. Give yourself the time for that. I remember that I went out after about 2 or 3 days. I had some commitments and I had to go out. And so it would, because my dog was with me 24/7, I worked from home. Everybody knew her, even though she hadn't been with me even quite a year, because I always had her in my bag. And she was a little enough dog that I could carry her everywhere. So I remember going into Michael's, a craft store, and realizing that, the first thing that when they saw me was, "Where's Bella?" And that just made me cry. So I left the store. Another place I had to go the following day was Kinko's. I had to Xerox some things for work. Same thing. "Where's Bella?" And so I said, that she passed away, and, everybody was very sad. And so that was like, okay, I'm not doing this. I'm going to stay home for a little bit longer. And then I tried to find a grief support group in the area. Couldn't find anything except one group that met at the Humane Society. And I attended that at the end of the week. And I was very disappointed because I was so raw still, numb with all of my feelings. I really wanted to just go and listen, kind of be in the back of the room and just kind of listen and see if anything that I needed to process that way. And it was a discussion group. And it was a small room, and there was about 7 women in there, no men, it was mostly women. And they were talking about pets that had died like years ago. And they were crying and they were going over it. And I thought, oh my God, people, your dog died 5 years ago and you're here crying about it. My dog died 2 days ago, and so I felt like I wasn't in the same vibration as they were. And I just left. It was not helpful to me. And so again, you find the right place for you at the time, what you're needing, and find those resources. I was feeling more like I needed to be around someone who just wanted to hear my story. The facilitator, as I was like getting ready to leave, she just asked if, what had happened. And I told her, and she did leave me with a comment that was very healing, because I was feeling very guilty because my pet was hit by a car. And I felt like maybe if I had done something different. And so she was basically, as I was leaving, she left me with the comment that, there was nothing I could have done. That was a path she chose, and there was nothing that I could have done about it. And so basically I found some relief with that, because it wasn't something that I could have controlled. So anyway, but that, again, that was, I was still there, like not finding, the relief. And so the journaling helped a lot. The second thing I did to help me through the process was create a little memorial altar in my home. And in the art of Feng Shui, we use the 5 elements. We use wood, which if you see the plant behind me, that's the wood element. We use water, and the blue colors behind me represent the water element. We use metal, and that can be a metal object, a bell, or light colors like you see behind me, the whites. Fire is the red colors or a candle, and water. So you can put a little bowl of water. So I created all this on her altar, and with her picture and some flowers and some of her mementos. And it was on my kitchen table. So when I walked in every day, I would see it. I would light a candle, light some incense. I would talk to her. And I was so several days later, I went to a meditation group, and I told one of the girls, and she said, "Why would you do that? To me, that's more painful, because every time you walk in your house, you're reminded that she's gone." And I said, "No, I see it differently. I see it more like, connecting with her. But I see her point, because you don't want to dwell on the death. You want to emphasize and focus in the future on the life that you had, the good the good times, the joys, the love, the lessons. You know, my dog brought me so many wonderful lessons about spontaneity, about living in the moment, about laughing, about joy, about being playful, as pets do. And so I recommend the altar situation, and you can place it wherever you like, not in your bedroom, but in, or your office, but in a central location, maybe a living room or a bookshelf or somewhere. And for a few weeks or however long it takes you to feel like, okay, I've had my conversations, I've done my little session with her. And then you can place it somewhere less obvious, maybe on a bookshelf, as I said, her picture with some flowers, or, whatever you'd like. We don't put pictures of pets or family members or whatever in our bedrooms ever anyway. So keep your pet pictures, even of the ones that are deceased, in your family room. In Feng Shui, the east sector of a house is considered the family wall. So if you have pictures of family members, present or past, you could put pictures of your pets there. And then the third thing is to create a space for them. If you have brought your pet home and you want to bury it in your backyard, then create a garden, and maybe a little saying with a stake that says, love or joy or peace, and maybe a statue of Saint Francis or something like that. And create in flowers, create a beautiful garden. So it's not a place you go and see when you're out watering your lawn or whatever that reminds you of death. It's a beautiful thing to see. If you don't plan to stay in that home long term and you want your pet to be with you, in a sense, and you had them cremated, you can take their ashes and put them on a patio with a plant. I have a beautiful, like a 4-tier shelf on my patio, and I put ashes of my pet in there in a flower pot. And so her ashes are separated, but there's a flower pot with it. And then there's a big statue of Buddha, and there's lots of flowers around it, and there's lights around it. So at night it's lit up. And so that's something that when I sit on my patio in the evenings, it looks lovely. During the day, it looks nice. And it's like, a nice remembrance. It's not something that makes me sad. It's better to have ashes inside, outside, not inside. Because they are the death element, because there's no life there. The soul has moved on. This is just a remembrance of them. So we don't want that in the house, like in a life area that, we want prosperity, for example. So it's best to have them where you, can enjoy them and view them, but not in the house. So hopefully those are a couple of options for you, creating a beautiful garden or a little scenario on your patio. And then the final thing I did was I wrote her a letter. And so that kind of got the final feelings out of me feeling guilty. I wrote things like, I'm sorry that I wasn't, more aware that, she got hit by a car. I should have looked, whatever. And hope she forgave me for that, things that were, it doesn't mean it makes any sense. It just means whatever you're feeling at the time, you're having a chance to connect with that person, that pet, and you move through that. And it helps you go through the process so that over time, because I can tell you when this happened, I didn't understand how I would ever feel differently. I thought I would be in that kind of pain for a very long time. And as I say this, it brings me to tears. But I tell you, the tears have now turned to more joy, because I remember all the beautiful things that pet and she brought to me. And so you're going to have moments like that. You'll move through it, and then you'll go somewhere where your pet, died, or you'll hear a song that reminds you of when they passed, or there'll be certain scenario you'll be in and you'll think about them just like you would a person that in your life that passed away. And those are all fine, because again, they're helping you more clear that, process the emotion. I had a Zen master tell me that the level of grief that you have for a pet or person is commensurate with the amount of love that you have. So if you're grieving very deeply, you had very deep, heartfelt emotions for that pet. They're not a rock, they're a sentient being, they're living. So you have emotions there for that pet because you spent the time with them and had that connection. So I'll leave you with and I have a lot more tips in my book. So if someone's grieving, you might want to offer them that book. It's Feng Shui for Healing the Loss of a Pet on Amazon. If someone is found out that their pet is not going to be around long and they're grieving that, the book would also be helpful to prepare them. And it's just a way of helping you move through through transitions that are very painful. Maybe the loss of a career, maybe the loss of a marriage, and those are all really kind of the reason we grieve those things is because they're the loss of a dream. And so that there's a grieving process that goes with some of those things. And I touch on those in my book because those things were things that affected me as well. So anyway, I want to leave you on a happy note, and that I hope you have a happy life and that you will consider adopting another pet in the future. They bring so much love to our lives. They open up our hearts. As I said, when my dog passed, I didn't think I would ever feel differently, and I didn't ever want another dog in my life. Well, over time, I realized I had all of her things, and I really needed to consider that. And of course, the pets I've had since her have just been a joy and brought so much love to my life and helped me heal that time period as well. And I really recommend you rescuing. There are over 4 million dogs a year that get euthanized in the United States alone, according to Cesar Millan. And we really don't need more breeding, and we do need more homes. So hopefully this is helpful to you, and please share this video with someone that is going through the loss of a pet, and or someone who you feel like might benefit from it. So thank you for listening, and have a great day.